I really do not believe in beating your children. But like, if my son was ever showing signs of becoming Emmanuel Acho, belt to ass. Oh my God.
Welcome back on the channel, cousins. And if you are joining for the very first time, thank you so much for tuning in. Emmanuel Acho's commentary about the LSU basketball player Angel Reese has gotten so many people pissed, hot, and angry at the same time. In fact, just name it. People are really pissed about his commentary on the Fox Spot. This is coming after Reese's reaction post game saying that I have been through so much. And him even mentioning the fact that black women are the most marginalized group in America made this whole thing very, very bad, because I know that these reactions from people are coming from different angles. In a post he made, he said, Black women have historically been the most marginalized group in America, but I am going to give a gender neutral and racially indifferent take. In sport, you can't act like the big bad wolf, then cry like Courage the cowardly dog. That was what he said, and this has gotten a lot of people pissed. In fact, it went deeper more to explain what he was trying to say. How do you say you will give a neutral and racially indifferent take about a black woman in America, knowing fully well that this is a country that their laws are founded in white supremacy and misogyny? These are the questions that people are asking. The same you talking about how black women are the most marginalized group in America is still the same you talking about how you are going to give a neutral and racial indifferent take about a black woman. How are you removing the race when you know the race is one of the major problems? He talked about the fact that Angel Reese made herself the villain, and people are talking about how they are tagging out the villain because she is outwardly competitive. When exactly is a black woman going to be able to break? And on the other hand, there are people saying we should be able to call ourselves to order. What is said is not too much. Without wasting much time, let's get right into what Emmanuel Acho said, and as well what the people are saying about it. It's going to be in two parts because it's a very long one. Like I said, it's going very viral. So it's going to be in two parts. So let's get right into the first part.
I'm about to give a gender-neutral, racially indifferent take. Now, if you want to say, well, Acho, cater your take based upon gender, Acho, cater your take based upon race, I will understand that. But I'm about to give a gender-neutral, racially indifferent take. Angel Reese, you can't beat a big bad wolf, but then kind of cry like Courage the Cowardly Dog. Because if you want to act grown, which she has, if you want to get paid like you grown, which you are, if you want to talk to grown folks like you grown, which you did post-game when you told a coach for an opposing team, watch your mouth. If you want to tell people get your money up, then post-game when you take an L, you just got to take it on the chin. Nobody mourns when the villain catches an L. And Angel Reese, you have self-proclaimed to be the villain. Shout out to you, because you were the second best basketball player on the court, and it was not close. Outside of Caitlin Clark, it was you. 17 and 20. Dog. Showed up. Biggest game, second biggest game of your career. Absolute dog. But you can't, under any circumstance, go to the podium and now try to ask for individuals to give you sympathy. No one has sympathy for the villain. You painted the bullseye on your back. Why are you surprised when people shoot at you? So if you want to act grown, if you want to pose grown, if you want to talk grown, if you want to talk to grown folks grown, then you got to take the L like you grown. Because what frustrated me is when you want to be the villain, but you want to hope for sympathy like a hero.
Just saw the take my brother Emmanuel Acho made about Angel Reese on Fox Sports.
Angel Reese, you can't beat a big bad wolf, but then kind of cry like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
I like Acho, but I think he missed the ball on this one. The media made Angel Reese the villain, just like they made Caitlin Clark the America's sweetheart. I don't think Angel Reese said, hey, I want to be the villain. I think she ran with the title. And as a former villain, I know how that goes. Like, she ran with it. I was a villain at one point. So she's like, fuck it, they're going to use it, try to use this against me. I'm going to use it to my benefit. But I think the one thing you can't debate is her game and the numbers she puts up and her talent. And it's weird that everyone has an issue with her talking shit or her even crying in the post-press conference, but don't talk enough about her game, I feel. Like, she's damned if she does, damned if she don't. She gets criticized for talking shit. She gets criticized for crying. But if you think about it, Acho, it's her last college game. she's going to the league. So she had a great run at LSU, captivated the world, helped change really the viewership in women's basketball. And obviously there was other women that helped with that. But Angel Reese was a big part of that. So, of course, after a tough loss, she's going to kind of reflect and be emotional. And you're a former athlete, you know that. So to say that she can't cry or she has to, because the media labeled her, she has to be a thug all the time or the villain all the time, because that shit ain't true. You guys have a problem when she talks shit. You guys have a problem when she gets emotional and cries. Like, you guys have a problem with her just being emotional, which is crazy. Everybody's emotional. She just plays with on her sleeve. Similar to Draymond Green. It's crazy. I've never seen a female, first of all, get this much just hate, constant hate. People are constantly hating. I feel like it's hate. Now, she talks shit. Yeah, she plays to the edge. Yeah, that's okay. That's what made all of us start watching college basketball again. And Caitlin Clark shooting from half court and all these talented women. But that's their game. That's what they do. Like, why do we have such a problem with it when it's women, but men are out here and it's not an issue? Dude's been talking shit and been crying after losses, snot-nosed, teary-eyed. But whenever she does it, it's such an issue. And I just think it's kind of weird to me, man. But y'all carry on.
Okay, this video was for Emmanuel Acho and anybody who agreed with his take on Speak about Angel Reese. First of all, I have some notes here. So firstly, if you agree with Emmanuel Acho, you're a misogynistic clown. Let's get that out the way first. I'm gonna tell you why, because first of all, y'all hold black women to impossible standards. Y'all already hold women to high standards anyways. Don't let a woman be black too, because y'all move the goalpost beyond anything that could ever be reached. Before I even get into Emmanuel Acho's ass, and Joyce said who made Angel Reese the villain, the answer, she couldn't say it, but it was white people. Y'all like to lie and say, oh, it's not that, it's because of other reasons. Don't spit in my face and then lie and say you didn't do it. So now I'm gonna get into Emmanuel's ass and black men in general who agree with his take. Because honestly, first of all, Emmanuel, how are you gonna give a gender neutral and racially unbiased take? How are you gonna do that? Because all of those things are implied regardless. People love to say they're taking race and gender out of the conversation, yet never acknowledge the fact that that's the reason that there's an issue in the first place. Because let's call a spade at this point. If this had been two white women, if the inciting incident had been between two white women, this wouldn't be a conversation a year later. And if this was two men, this wouldn't be a conversation a year later either. There's no removing race from this conversation. That is the conversation. Y'all like to pretend that like racism and all this stuff doesn't matter. And it does. It's a problem in every single aspect of our lives. And honestly, you, Acho, as a black man, which honestly, I don't even expect too much from you, honestly. You come on national TV and say the stuff that you said is honestly the reason that we don't take a lot of black men serious. Like I said at the beginning, y'all hold black women to this impossible standard. Even just being a woman is already hard. We're supposed to act a certain way. We're not supposed to say this. We're not supposed to do that. It's the boys will be boys thing. Men are allowed to get away with any and everything. And when a woman does this exact same thing that he did, we're ridiculed and condemned for it. Y'all know that every athlete goes around doing all the showboating. So already the inciting incident was like a stupid conversation to begin with. On top of that, it's already hard being black. The goalpost is constantly moved. You always have to work 10 times, 20 times, 50 times harder than the white person next to you. White people already have more access and opportunity to a lot of things. Honestly, I have a lot of beef with Emmanuel Acho and any man who agrees with his take. To the people who are saying she villainized herself, she did not do that. She accepted the narrative that was placed on her. And she had to accept it because had she denied it, she would have been seen as an angry black woman. What y'all aren't understanding is that she was never gonna win this argument because of the standards that people place on black women. And my final point, multiple things can be true. She could have accepted the role as the villain that people put on her and also still experienced hardships during that time. She experienced racism, misogyny, people attacking her for unwarranted reasons. Like Joyce said during the segment, y'all want the authentic version of things, and then when people give it to you, you don't like it because it's not what you want it to be. And what I hate the most about this continuous conversation, it's never about basketball. It's never about how great both of those two women are at what they do. One thing this conversation never is that, and the conversation is also and never will be fair. But for a black man to go on national television and basically tell a black woman that what she's experiencing is essentially her fault, I have a very big problem with that. This situation also proves the problems that we have within the black community. He wanted to go and have this gender neutral and different take and didn't do that at all. Further prove the point that we still have very big issues in this country. Emmanuel Acho got on his show today and spoke about Angel Reese's post-game interview comments and her visibly crying and being emotional. And he pretty much said that, hey, if you're the villain, you're not awarded sympathy. It really is what it is. He also used terms such as, if you make grown money, if you act grown and do grown actions, then pretty much you can't get up there and try to be Courage the Cowardly Dog. And it was confusing for a lot of reasons because I feel like a lot of stuff was missed in translation of her comments, but also that I just flat out respectfully disagree with Emmanuel Acho completely. He started his whole statement by saying that he was giving a gender-neutral, racial indifferent take, right? But this is the thing. There are certain moments in sports, certain people in sports that they are not afforded the luxury of gender neutral and racial indifference. And honestly, being in the gray rather than the black and white is just as dangerous, right? With Angel Reese, she has never been given the luxury of racial indifference and gender neutral. So I don't even understand how we can even make that statement. Now, if we want to talk sports neutral, maybe so, where trash talk is allowed on both sides and should have been viewed that way from the beginning. But to state this and say that we got to take that out in speaking about her, you can't do it. It's not something you could possibly do with her because all of the backlash that she has gotten is because she's an unapologetic black woman who won a national championship last year. She's not afforded for you to turn a blind eye now to her race and to her gender. To sit there and say in the statement that she took on the villain role. You say you're the villain. Why are you crying now? There's a few things lost in that entire statement. For a lot of people who did not see the LSU postgame interview, everyone is under this impression that Angel Reese was seeking sympathy. That's how everyone's viewing this. And this is why I say context was missed in this statement, because you can't sit there and say that she was looking for sympathy and not also discuss that the reporters initially asked Flage the question that said, how would you categorize Angel Reese this year and her leadership to this team? That's what started the conversation. And Flage sat there and defended her teammate. Flage sat there and said, y'all don't know Angel Reese. The crown that she wears is heavy and she never makes excuses. She's the best teammate. The reason I've succeeded this year is because of her. Y'all can say what y'all want, but I know her. Y'all don't know her. She's not the villain. She's not this bad person that y'all make her out to be. She works hard, she handles it well, and she is the reason this team has succeeded as far as we have. Haley Van Lith gave the same thing, which then in turn the reporter asked Angel, well, how did you feel about hearing those comments? That is when Angel answered and said, you know, hey, I don't speak for myself. I don't stand up for myself. I have friends, I have family that do that for me, a city that does that for me. She then went on in her statement that everyone has been seeing, that where she was visibly crying, where the reporter again asked her, how did she feel about this year, that this could potentially be her last game that she played, where then you see her say, I've went through so much this year. I've went through so much since we won. But nobody's bringing up the fact that she said 2 weeks ago, I haven't had peace since we won, but I wouldn't change anything. She also said it again in the statement. I would not change anything about what's happened. But yes, I have got death threats. Yes, I have been sexualized. I have went through a lot, but I am not making excuses. That's not why we lost. She never once sat there and was seeking sympathy. All she did was acknowledge what her truth is, what she's actually living. But because you feel like she took on the villain role, that she's not afforded that actuality of speaking her truth, how can you sit there and tell someone they can't speak their truth because you feel like they don't have the right because they're a villain? Let me also add, she did not say, hey, I'm the villain. She didn't start this whole thing out seeking villain. Y'all made her the villain after she won. Y'all made her the villain when she talked trash and backed it up and was not afraid and said, I'm standing 10 toes on it. Y'all made her the villain. She didn't choose that. Who chooses to want to be the villain? Make it make sense. Draymond Green has said it multiple times. Nobody really wants to be the villain. You don't go out there seeking that. And if you do, you're crazy. She never sought that. She went out there and played between those lines and was competitive, and y'all made her the villain. Y'all sat there and said she had no right to say and do the things that she did, even though she won last year. Y'all said that. So what else can she do? As any other black woman does, you try to take your power back by saying, look, I'm going to just own it then. Y'all say I'm the villain then, because it doesn't matter what I say to y'all. Y'all don't want to see me any other way than the villain. So how can you sit there and say as though she sought out the villain? No, she had no choice because y'all weren't going to change your minds about it. To sit there and say, hey, as a villain, because again, we're racial indifferent and gender neutral in this. So we can't bring up that you're a black woman and that your experiences are vastly different than probably everyone else who's playing women's college basketball. Hey, you're the villain. So, hey, you can't start crying about death threats. You can't start crying about being sexualized because honestly, you're not given that right. Hey, you're the villain. Deal with it. That's what that said. That was insensitive. She wasn't seeking sympathy. But if you don't want to face the reality of what her truth is, that's a problem. To add more context, because a lot of things are getting missed in that post-game interview, no one's talking about how she dried up those tears and ended that answer with a smile on her face saying, I still wouldn't trade what happened for the world. I hope that other little girls are watching me and seeing how hard it was for me. And I hope it's not as hard for them. But I hope that they see that they could unapologetically be themselves. That they could stand 10 toes. That they could stand here and still be okay at the end of it. She sat there with a smile. Did not make one excuse. Didn't make an excuse for that ankle. Didn't make an excuse about Caitlin Clark. Didn't make any excuse. All she did was tell her truth and then ended that answer by saying, I'm still me though. In a world where everybody is everybody else but themselves, she has stood there since the beginning and has not changed one bit who she is, even though everyone else wants her to be. But somehow we're fixated on the villain role that was given to her. Then to refer to her as Courage the Cowardly Dog, and that if you're the big bad wolf, you can't do that. Courage the Cowardly Dog was scared out his mind. Scared, always running away, never stood up. When have we seen Angel Reese run? They lost against Iowa. What do we see? She's in the handshake line. She hugs Caitlin. What did she say in the postgame? Caitlin told me I'm a great player. I told her she's a great player. What did she say before the game? She said, y'all think we hate each other. I don't hate Caitlin Clark. I love Caitlin Clark. She's a great player. But when we in between them lines, we're competitive. She's competitive. What's the problem? But that's getting lost though. Somehow she's Courage the Cowardly Dog because she was asked a question about her experiences and how she felt after her teammates defended her, and because she showed vulnerability and emotion. Even though we tell everyone, be emotional, be vulnerable, when someone finally is, now it's a problem. They're seeking sympathy. They're Courage the Cowardly Dog. Make it make sense. Courage the Cowardly Dog to me for Angel Reese would have been if she left that handshake line and didn't say anything. She could have sat there and said, I don't want to do any press or any media today because I know they're going to tear me up. I'm good. I'm going to skip it. She didn't. She has not skipped anything. Lost against South Carolina. What did she do? She stood in that postgame and said, we ain't scared. I like where we're at. We're going to be okay. Lost against Colorado. She stood there. Came back from when she had that break. Stood there in the media. Didn't make no excuses. But somehow she Courage the Cowardly Dog because she got asked a question and she answered it honestly and truthfully with vulnerability? That doesn't make sense. Being Courage the Cowardly Dog in sports is if you can't stand graciously in your defeat. She has stood in it. Crown still on her head, actually. Hasn't slipped. I mean, if we're going to use that example and I'm going to make it sports neutral, we could talk about Michael Jordan and how on The Last Dance he said he still didn't like the fact that the bad boy Detroit Pistons, after MJ finally beat them, didn't sat there and try to shake his hand. He said, how y'all win all this and you can't shake my hand after defeat? Maybe that's more Courage the Cowardly Dog. But last time I checked, Angel Reese was in that handshake line. She's given every player and team props that have beat them. She didn't make excuses. But somehow now she's the coward? And yes, Emmanuel Acho has said things in support of Angel Reese, bringing up the racial bias that exists in sports and all of those things. But that's why this makes this a little bit irresponsible in a sense and is coded in the sense of opinion because this backtracks all of this. Angel Reese was deemed the villain because of how people assumed and categorized her character. She was not deemed the villain because of basketball. All of these things that have been said about Angel Reese has not been about basketball, the sport. It has been about everything outside of it. To start a statement saying that you're going to ignore race and ignore gender when everything that has been said about her is because of those things it can't be done. If we want to talk about the game, let's do that. But let's not sit there and diminish and just say what she went through is her fault. No.
What do you guys think about what they all said? I love these stitches so much, and there are still more people talking about Emmanuel's Acho's commentary as well. So it is going to be in the part 2, and that will be uploaded few hours after this one. So make sure to check it out. So a lot of people are talking about how they don't just like her, like it is the hate, and hate is such a big word, but so many people are confirming the fact that there is really nothing that this lady will do that they will not come at her. How are you coming at someone for literally showing emotions? The same people that they have been calling talk for years. She didn't just start crying out of the blues. They were asked the questions, and even our teammates had gone ahead to even answer and say so many things before they now asked her how she felt, and then she replied that she has been through a lot. I love the last stitch. The lady literally broke every single thing down on how she reacted, how she responded, what her teammate had to say, and as well how she finished the interview. And which I think is such a great one. Nobody is happy being a loser. Even if she cries for losing, she's only human and she has blood running through her. So many people agree with the fact that there are so many things wrong in what Emmanuel Acho said. Firstly, talking about how he's going to get neutral and racially indifferent in a place where race have always been the problem. Like, she is only hated this much for literally being unapologetically herself because she is speaking up. They said she is a thug because she's just outwardly competitive and she will show up as her true self. They painted that to be the villain. Like that lady said, nobody wants to wake up in the morning and say, yeah, you get it. I want to be the villain. They made her the villain and she ran with that narrative. But to be honest, people are going to believe what they want to believe. Like the first stitch said, she's them if she does, and she's them if she doesn't. So whatever it is that she does, she's still going to, get some hate at her back. Getting death threats all because you're showing up as yourself, and they are saying she has no right to show emotions because she is the villain. There are so many people as well talking about how black men are going to get into a position to talk about their people, and all they want to do is tear down black women. And this is the reason why I said so many of these stitch are coming from different angles, which you guys are going to be seeing in the next part as well, because there's still so many people's take that I literally love. Aside from that, there are some men on the media as well talking about how Emmanuel didn't say anything much. We should be ready to always hold each other accountable. But what he is saying is she has no right to show emotions because she lost. And that was not even the reason why she was crying. So I love that last stitch literally broke everything down and from A to Z and let people know where this all started from. I would like to hear you guys take about this particular one. This comment here said, it was a dumb mistake because she wasn't crying because she lost. She can't take race and gender out of it because it is relevant to what she was actually talking about and crying about. And one of them as well mentioned, if it happens to be two white women in this situation, are we still going to be having this same conversation? And I think that is the best question ever. So even if she's crying for losing, she's not doing anything bad. How do they expect her to show up as a thug every single time, as a woman who has blood and water running through her? Even if she's showing up as a thug, she is being called out for it. If she's showing emotions, she's being called out for it. One of the things that I love about the interview was when the teammates were literally talking about her. Like, you all don't know her, we know her so much, and we know the sacrifices she has made. And if it's not for her, we might not be able to get to this level in this game. Why is that not being talked about? Why is her crying literally a problem? Another person said she wasn't crying because she lost. These are people literally just confirming that the reason why this lady was crying wasn't because she lost. She cried after they asked how she felt about the article. This girl was called a peace star. I the LA Times. Like, if you have been online as well, there are so many times that Angel Reese conversation has been up. Like, it's just this pure hate directed towards this young woman. And it's so nice to see a lot of people standing up for her because it must have been so tough having so much hate at your back and even still being hated for showing emotions or even crying? Let me hear your take in the comment section. Let's continue this conversation there. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe before you go and turn your bell notification on. And I will see you guys in the next one.